Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. You are not obligated to go out with anyone, OP, and it seems that you have some very good reason not to go out with your coworker. Best of luck. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Not going out to eat with coworker anymore because she embarrasses me. Right now, I'm working on a travel project where I'm a surveyor. Our assignment right now is 100% travel, so we're staying in hotels, going out to eat a lot more than normal. My current partner is Sam. We share a company car at the location for now, and she's a nice woman who's good at her job and generally pleasant to be around. However, whenever we go out to eat, she turns into a mega Karen and can be really obtuse towards waiters and staff. I've gone out to eat with her many times over the past few weeks, and every single time there's been a problem with her meal or drink. She always sends stuff back for no reason or for the dumbest reasons, is always demanding a discount at the end because she had to send stuff back or demanding additional items. If the server refuses, she always demands a manager and gets very curt and direct. I always just stare at my plate because I'm kinda embarrassed. And no joke, this happens at every meal when we go out to eat. I told her I wouldn't be joining her for dinner anymore, and she asked why. I avoided it, but she wanted an answer, and I told her that her behavior was embarrassing. She got really mad, and our work relationship's now strained. And our second story. Customer gets an upgrade to the worst room possible. Backstory. Years ago, I worked at a hotel located right on a beach. So many people always come in and trying to run the scam to be upgraded to beachfront all the time. Please note, if you have thought about how to scam someone, there are a lot of others who probably have already done this before you. Front desk staff are not stupid idiots who don't know how to read when a customer is full of crap. Again, as this hotel is beachfront, there are 3 types of rooms overall. Beachfront equals most expensive, side, and then city view, which is cheapest as some don't want to spend the extra money for a view. Cast: boss, me, and JC, jerk customer. Working graveyard shift one night, I see someone booked a city view room as we're dead. Front desk staff can do free upgrades if they choose. I see this reservation and think, hey, I'll be nice and give them a free upgrade to the side and block them into a room on the 9th floor. The 9th floor is the highest we have except the 10th floor, which is for the penthouse level. I move JC over closest to the beach. JC will have a great view. The JC walks in and immediately tells me he has a beachfront view room booked. Now, for those that do not work in a hotel, no one ever says this. They always say, I have a room reserved. So immediately I know JC is lying. I say, sorry, sir, you booked a city view room. JC tells me, no, he booked a beachfront, and I explain that a beachfront will be more expensive. JC replies that no, he was quoted this much, and that's all he'll pay. I tell him, okay, I can upgrade you to the side. JC replied with, that's acceptable. This is strike 2. Now I truly know he's lying, as if he truly booked a beachfront, this would not have been acceptable. I change his room to the 2nd floor and closest to the city as I can make it. This room was absolutely the worst room we had and the last one we ever used. The only time someone got booked into the room was when we were sold out and no other choices were available. Instead of seeing a beach, he now has a wonderful view of our generator. Boss came in early that morning. I explained if he gets a complaint from JC, this is what happened. I told him what room number I was going to put him in, to which boss goes, you are being incredibly nice. As I finished telling him the story, B asked, so where'd you put him? Boss knows I would never be nice to a jerk as I had a reputation for malicious compliance on many occasions. I tell boss the room number and he immediately knew what I did to JC and falls out of his chair laughing so hard. B says, this is why I keep you around. Entertainment value. No one but you would have ever thought to do this to a jerk customer. Boss continues saying, the best part, he thinks he scammed us and he screwed himself. If JC would have just shut up, JC had a great room. Now JC has the worst room possible. Boss tells me later that JC never did come down to complain. Moral of the story, If you're being a jerk, I will gladly give you the jerk upgrade. And our last story. The time my mother-in-law tried to steal my farm. I live in a very rural area on a small ranch that's been with my family since my grandfather. We're about 15 minutes from the nearest small town. When I say small, I really mean small. I met my wife, Sarah, by chance about 6 years ago when I stopped in town to pick up some groceries. She gave off a very tomboy vibe, and she just came to the area herself. She just finished school and found that she hated city life and wanted to come back to something more familiar. I'll get to that later. I guess she saw me pull in with my pickup and some of the heavier equipment in it, and she came over and asked what sort of livestock I had. She quickly cut to the chase. She was looking for work, she had experience with livestock, and she was new to the area. It's strange in our area to have single women looking for work as a ranch hand, but she said she could prove her worth, and if I wasn't impressed, I was free to drive her back to town at the bus stop, and that'd be that. I was looking for an extra hand for the upcoming months and was considering contacting my neighbor's boys for it, but figured I'd give her a shot. Glad I did too. She has one hell of a work ethic and was proactive about everything on the ranch. I let her stay in a guest room in the main house for the first week until she had enough pay for an apartment, but within 6 months she moved back in when we started dating. 8 months later was when we married in a small ceremony with about 20 friends and family members. The only person to show up from her family was her uncle. Uncle was a tank of a man, even in his older years, and had a sheep farm in Northern California. Him and I talked shop a bit when he was there, and he was proud to give Sarah away. I could see where Sarah got her work ethic and knowledge of livestock from the man. There was, however, one topic that Sarah did not like to discuss. It was her birth parents. At first, all she'd say was there was bad blood between them. Early on, that was fine. We didn't know each other yet, but after the engagement, I wanted to know more about her and know exactly what I was diving into. Her mother, the professor, worked in a college teaching a class I most likely would never attend. Her father, father-in-law, was, as wife described, a weak man that does what the professor demands. Some of the things wife described the professor in doing sounded absurd and borderline insane. It included her trying to get Sarah a girlfriend in middle school, insisting Sarah was a lesbian. Now, Sarah is a bit of a tomboy, there's no denying that, but she's also most definitely not a lesbian. There was a period where the professor wanted to live a natural lifestyle, and she asked father-in-law's brother to let them live on his farm. Within a week, the professor hated the farm and dragged them both back to the city. Sarah, on the other hand, felt like she finally found something she liked and really connected with her uncle. Sarah left home when she was 16 and lived with Uncle until she was 18. All while she was with Uncle, the professor kept threatening to drag her back. She never did. After wife turned 18, she went to school and received a 4-year degree and tried to work an office job but found it unfulfilling. She started to take the bus and working odd jobs in rural areas, looking for something that fit what she was looking for. That's when our paths crossed. Last year, around March, we started getting mail addressed to the professor and father-in-law, bills and bank statements and such. I found this strange, and Sarah wanted to trash it. I started marking them return to sender and no such occupant and dropped them right back into the mailbox. This came to a head in October when I was cleaning up the yard and a bright white SUV drove up with a U-Haul attached to it. Sarah looked up and turned pale. "Oh God, it's them," she said. Out stepped a rotund woman and a thin man that only had a passingly resemblance to Uncle. The professor immediately walked up to wife. Professor: "Well, let me look at you. It's been years." Sarah: "Mom, what are you doing here?" Professor: "The university's doing virtual classes, and with COVID, we figured we can self-isolate at our ranch." The "our" had a weird emphasis. Me: "Excuse me, but this isn't your ranch." Professor: "Oh, I'm sure we can have the ownership all cleared up." "Well, aren't you going to invite us in?" Me: "Ma'am, you may be my wife's mother, but you're a stranger to me. I'd rather not." The professor turned to father-in-law. Professor: "Make the call." Father-in-law instantly got on the phone with the police and started spinning a tale about us not letting him into the house that they equally own with us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and how insane it was being spun. Luckily, as I said before, small town. The sheriff pulled up, and it was someone I knew for most of my life. Sheriff really embodies the mindset of a small-town constable. He tries to be a peacemaker and a peacekeeper first and foremost. He also knew that this land was in my family's name for 3 generations. Sheriff: what's this I hear about you selling half your ranch, OP? Me: I didn't. These are my wife's parents, and they think they have a legal stake on my land. Professor: not think, no. We've lived here since February. With tenants' laws, that means... Sheriff: funny, I don't remember you in town. That shut the professor right up for a second, but then she reached in her bag and pulled out a stack of letters, a lot of them bills and bank statements with the ranch's address. Professor: then how do you explain these? Sheriff took the letters and looked at them. Sheriff: ma'am, these are all marked return to sender. The professor turned desperate. Professor: please, I haven't seen my daughter in years. I just want to make sure she's okay. Surely you can see that he, pointing at me, is controlling her every move. Sheriff rolled his eyes and walked over to talk to wife and I. Again, Sheriff likes to solve problems between people, and he hasn't encountered this level of crazy before. Sheriff: you might just want to invite him in for coffee. Talk for a few minutes. Sarah, they are your parents. Sarah: if you leave them here, you will have to come back in 5 minutes to handle an assault. Sheriff: Sarah, you can't mean that. They're your family. Look, I'm just going to head up the road. Invite him in. Talk to him. Sarah got a bit of an angry glint in her eye. Sarah: does this mean you're going to invite your cousin Aaron to Thanksgiving? Sheriff's cousin Aaron was currently serving 8 years for a multitude of felonies. Sheriff's entire family consider him the family's shame. With that statement, the look in Sheriff's eyes changed. He gave Sarah a look like, that bad, huh? And Sarah merely nodded. Sheriff turned back to the professor and father-in-law. Sheriff: all right, they don't want you here. Best you two not come back. The two protested briefly, but then piled back into the SUV and drove off, with Sheriff trailing right behind to make sure they were completely off the property. This was the first time I met the professor and father-in-law, but it definitely stuck with me. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.